Hello everybody, welcome to the first R Help session. This is from September 4th, 2018. So first I will go over basic R installation. You need to install R and RStudio. To install R, go to rproject.org. You can get there via Googling R project. Click Download R. Scroll down to the bottom where you find USA, and then click the second from the bottom link. And then click your respective operating system and you should be able to download R. However, you'll also need to download RStudio. Google RStudio, click the first link, click download RStudio on the website, and then click download under the free option. You do not need to pay anything to get it. It is the open source license. Another important resource I'd like to point out is the R help pages or R info pages for STAT 309. To access these, go to Canvas, click Home, it should be here automatically, and then click R info pages for STAT 309. This contains very important information for each chapter and as well as some of the commands you'll be using. I highly recommend this. So now I'll explain a little about R. When you first open it up, it will look like this. So the first thing you'll want to do is press File, or click the button below File, and click R script. This will open up a new script window. So let's go over some basic terminology now. In the top left, you have the R script window. In the bottom left, you have the console. In the bottom right, you'll have a place where any plots or help will appear. And in the top right, you have the global environment. That's where variables and vectors you assign will be. So remember, anything you do in R, you will want to type in the top left, the R script window. This is because it saves. For example, I can type a basic calculation and it will save. Whereas if I type the same calculation in the console, it can be cleared or deleted by mistake and it will not save. The top left stays. So, when you're doing your homework, you're going to want to press the pound symbol, which you get by pressing Shift and then 3, and then typing the question number. Anything you type after the pound symbol on that same line will not be received as output by R. So you can type anything and you will not receive any errors from R. So always put that to specify which question you're doing. It is not required after you turn in the R script for the first few homeworks, but it is always very helpful to look back to see what you did later. So now we'll cover the information you need for homework 1. First, you'll need to know how to do basic arithmetic functions. So that includes adding via pressing the adding symbol. That includes subtraction. You use it by putting a dash between the numbers you want to subtract. Multiplication by putting an asterisk. And division by putting the typical division sign. So to run anything, you will highlight it and click Run. You can also run on each line, or you can run by pressing Control-Shift at each line, which is a bit faster. Some people prefer pressing Run for each line though. So, another thing I would like to emphasize, it's very important, especially in the first few homeworks, to be using the R script window. A lot of people are tempted to use calculators or their phones as calculators because the calculations for the first few homeworks are simple. However, they will not always be simple, and thus it's better to get used to using R as a calculator. Another thing you'll need to know how to do is use exponents. So to do this, you press Shift 6, put in the little arrow, and then the power to which you want to raise a number. So for example, I put 2 to the third, and it gives us the feedback or output 8. Another important thing, basic knowledge for R, is creating a vector. A vector is when you assign a value to a variable. For example, I can assign A as 2 and B as 3. I would also like to point out you can also see this listed as this or this. You can use an equal sign or this symbol and it does the same thing. So if you look to the top right at the global environment, you can see the values I assigned to each letter. If you mess up, you can easily change it. For example, I can change A to 3, and as you can see, it changes. You don't need to clear the global environment when you make a mistake. So you might wonder why this is useful. Well, it's useful because then you can multiply numbers quickly or do any other functions. You may think it would be easier to just type them, but when you have large numbers and you want to compute several things, it may be better to just assign a vector and complete the letters. So it's also important to note that you can create a set using a vector. So I can you do set, you can just put an equal sign and then C, open parentheses, the numbers you want to use, and then close parentheses. You run it. You need to run each to make sure it's assigned, and you can look in the top right to make sure the set worked. And once it's assigned, you can do different things with it. You can say set squared. It squares every number in the set. Or you can sum it. On homework 1, you'll have to sum a set that you make. You can sum it and get 15 quickly. Again, you could do this by calculator easily, but it is better to practice in R because you will be doing more complicated things that you would not want to compute manually later in the semester. The last thing that I want to cover for today is importing data from Excel because you'll have to do that in R. So to do that, you're going to go to MyStatLab. Whenever you have data, there will be a symbol to click. You click it and you click Open in Excel. You go back to R, you press File, go down to Import Dataset, then choose from Excel. You're then going to click Browse, go to the Downloads portion of your computer, click the Excel file. It doesn't appear here because I did not download a file from MyStatLab, but it will be here on yours. Click it, press Open, name it something simple that you can write easily, and then uncheck first row as names. Then you're going to click Import. Then the data set will show up here, and you can do the same thing. So you can sum the data set, and you want to name it by the first column, which will appear as X underscore underscore 1. Note the $sign in between the name of the data and the name of the first column or column you want to use. Thank you for listening, everybody.